our delegation today is from Exshaw Mountain Gateway. It's a presentation by the developers. So, Mr. Hurley, I will hand the mic over to you, literally, and yeah, you can feel free to ask the council about this project. And just wanted to clarify that this is not part of the area ASP process. It's just for information about the project. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you to administration and council for allowing time for delegation presentation today. Exshaw Mountain Gateway is a proposed residential real estate development in the hamlet of Exshaw. In attendance today is Lindsay Beavers, co-owner and spouse, and Greg Birch, our planner consultant we've been working with since January 2019. The presentation includes some maps from the ASP, and these headlines all discuss company summary and history, land development concept, building the ASP, path to the today, and path to the future. Company summary and history. The land was purchased in December 2018 from a family that owned the land for a very long time. Some of the history goes back to that first utility right-of-way was registered 80 years ago with Altlink for the 2 towers that come across the property. And there was an old right-of-way that we had removed since we purchased the property, but 1 current right-of-way. The total parcel's 87 acres of land with 11.3 acres within the hamlet boundary and within the MDB border. Next slide, please. This map gives a reference just with the hamlet and the boundary there of the 87 acres with that teal hamlet border line delineating the hamlet border. The lands also go north there of Fable Drive and up to the 2 high northwest and northeast corners. So 11.3 acres of flatter developable land down low, and then 75 acres up higher with uses to be announced. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the concept really and the vision and the dream started December 2018, and January 2019 really started researching all the documents that define the uses and what can be applied for in the area with the ARP, MDP, LUV, and MGA documents. Lots of real estate discussions with local land developers from Calgary, Cochrane, Canmore, living in the valley for 30 years. Know a lot of realtors and contractors, builders, all that sort of brainstorming and to develop the concept that would cater to the local market here in the Bow Valley. Develop a concept that retains the character of the hamlet and would be a great place to live and where you could raise your family and start a new life. And really a concept that's unique to Exshaw, just as Exshaw is unique to the Bow Valley. So. Next slide, please. Would show our phasing with phase 1 to the east that could accommodate a variety of land uses. And then the steeper land is phase 2 that you'd see to the west and the northwest areas. So those familiar with the Prospector Mountain Biking Trail or Ruthie's Hiking Trail, it's been very popular with local residents and visitors alike, have definitely been using the land since the beginning of time there. And also to the east, lower area there's Bear Trail and some trails that go along the power lines there, so lots of people familiar with it, residents using the area over time for sure. Next slide, please. So basically, yeah, January 2019, we start building the ASP. We've worked with 15 different companies to come up with all 968 pages. And it's really been a combination of using some older existing studies and information that's out there. Some of the studies are from 2013, for example. with BGC and Sabatini, as well as more recent studies that relate to Exshaw Creek and Jura Creek mitigation completed by Golder, and also the current studies going on with Matrix, which will have some information and results that we'll be able to incorporate into the final design when that stage comes along. So it's really been a 3.5 years, 15 companies, 968 pages, a lot of information coming to this culmination right now. So we've had some meetings as well with the new planning team, and some revisions are in the works there, but we would like to have the final draft into administration and council for June 30th, with the current draft already circulated amongst administration and council. We, during the process, in the 3.5 years, we had 2 open houses. So one open house was June 2019. About 80 people attended. We had some preliminary maps and concepts that we went over, followed by a second open house, March 2022, just recently. About 70 people attended with a more finalized concept and the maps that are included in the ASP. So both events were well attended. There was good public input and a lot of education, I think, and answers, questions and answers from both sides. And followed that up with a lot of coffee meetings and land tours with the land. A lot of residents just want to see and walk around and sort of share that vision with them and answer some of their questions. So next slide, please. The path to today, a little bit what I've already referenced, but in August 2019, Council had approved our original terms of reference. And then in summer 2020, some new standards were introduced to us, and we were instructed to follow them. So there was a bit of a moving finish line, for lack of a better word. But over the time in 2020 and into 2021, our engineers, the MD, the engineering department, had many emails, many Zoom calls, many interactions really to sort of evolve that, because we're the first company to run the gauntlet and go through these new standards as an ASP, as opposed to only a development permit or only a subdivision application. We're the first full process ASP to move through these new standards. So it's represented some challenges, but it's also been a little serendipitous, because there was things that were in the works as well. Like Exshaw Creek got funded and the work was completed in 2021. And then Jura Creek was funded and the work was completed now in 2022. So it's all come full circle. There's been some delays, but it's also allowed other things to occur that needed to occur for that to happen. But despite that, you know, EMGI has incurred extra engineering costs through this evolution, but we're there. And the final draft was submitted first draft of the ASP submitted May 9th. And then we'll have the revisions, and June 30th, the final requests were put in. The planning department had a few concerns just about some lot density, some examples of right-of-ways and utility right-of-ways that could continue to go to the lands that are east of us. There's private property that goes all the way to Jura Creek. So in the long run, that the hamlet could have residential areas that go all the way to Jura Creek, and we've considered that in our design plans and in the ASP. Next slide, please. This trail shows example of the trails in the area, so Prospector and some of the trails as well out on the east side of the lands there, and working with the community and CAMBA and Exshaw Trail Alliance on diverting some of these trails over time, but still ensuring that there's long-term public access, and because there's great recreation, as we all know, in Exshaw, whether it is trail running, mountain biking, dog walking, all of it. Everyone likes to get a piece of nature, but there is Lafarge lands west of our parcel and private property east of our parcel. So I've been working with all the stakeholders there and coming up with a plan, as opposed to reactionary, sort of planning towards how trail access is guaranteed and the public still has access to all those great recreational opportunities. Next slide, please. So yes, the path to the future is where we are. So we would have the final revisions to the ASP completed by June 30th. And then we'd also have the MDP and LUP amendments submitted by June 30th as well. With the goal, Exshaw Mountain Gateway would request that we could have first reading with council at the July 12th meeting coming up, knowing that our final ASP and the final version can be submitted by then. Then according to MGA, we would have the public hearing in August, second reading possible in September, third reading October, and thinking positive that the ASP is adopted, we could do the subdivision application and the developer agreement worked out in October. So an ambitious timeline, but we've also been doing this for 3.5 years and are well versed and feel like we've been very patient with the process and working through a number of changes that have been part of the process. But one goal would be, for example, mid-April to August is nesting birds, so you can't cut any trees or grub out any land at that point. So just trying to keep the ball rolling here, and wanted to present it to everyone today. And we're open to Q&A if anyone has questions. Or we also have a website and always available for meetings and land walking tours and coffee at Heart Mountain Store. Good lunch specials.
Wonderful, thank you very much, Jason. Are there any questions? My question was, can you expand a little bit more on what type of development you're thinking of for phase one?
Sure, yeah, well, I can go into that. So it's basically residential subdivision area, and we can go to the next one more map actually. Here is the final 11-page map of the area. I'll move back. But it would be a combination of single-family homes with suites, duplex lots, and then 2 multifamily lots. So we're really trying to get all those price points and hit market demand for different levels in the Bow Valley. So if you're able to recognize the color codes, it would be the last 8 homes there on Pigeon Mountain Drive moving east. So we'd have some single-family down low there. The lane access could provide a suite above a garage for these homes, and then we move on to the next block, which would have some MR hiking trails behind it, and then a cul-de-sac there further along. This is a road that would go up onto the ridge or the bench lots as well, single family. And then we have the 2 multifamily lots, potentially pending design options, but a 10-plex and a 6-plex there. So really feel like we're putting out a project that has a number of price points for real estate that way, with it being a townhouse, single family with a suite, as well as ridge lots above there. So it's a service lot that you would have and then select your own home builder. So we would be putting in all the deep and shallow utilities, curbs, sidewalks, roads, the complete build out that way. And I would liken it to Rivers Bend and Dead Man's Flats with the same type of concept, where you're buying your service lot. We'll have some names for sure to recommend as home builders, but I think a lot of people may want to general contract their own option or work with the home builder of their choice.
Thank you very much. And has there been any consideration into development of basements?
So the area, great question. The area, because of its low lying and referencing the 968 pages, the stormwater management plan is very extensive there, with a whole team of engineers have worked on it. But we're backfilling this area to the 100-year floodplain.